So me, I'm actually excited about getting back into a truck. So mid-May, like I said, I found a place here, a bulk transporter here in Perry, Georgia, paying about $1,400 a week, and you could be an owner operator for them. So we're gonna truck around with them for about a month or two or three, and I'm gonna see if I don't pick up like a little day cab, with a Detroit 60 or N14 in it, and I'll park it there at their terminal, and just maybe drive it 3 or 4 days out of the week. We'll see. But I'm excited now, because at first my ego and my pride wouldn't let me drive a truck again, because I did not want to get back into that. If you've been in trucking the past few years, you already know how fast things can change. My name is Andrew Higgins, million-mile-plus driver, former owner-operator, and I spent years in this business learning things the hard way. Sometimes it came easy, but most of the time it was the hard way. When I started this business, nobody wanted to give the information, so we really had to go out here and talk to everybody we could talk to, and a lot of the older guys didn't want to share the information. But eventually we got down to the bottom of it to figure out how to make a living out here and how to do it on our terms. Because that's the biggest thing. If you're not doing it on your terms and you're out here just gone away from home, gone away from family, and you're just grinding, barely breaking even or whatever it is, it's just like, it's got to be worth it. So, as you can see in my former videos, that we carved out a good niche in this business. You know, trucking was hidden. It was very easy to reach $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a week after diesel with the type of operation that I built. And that's because we figured it out. I figured it out. You know, my first truck was a 2009 Peterbilt 387, which is this truck over here, this blue truck. And it was a cool truck. I got it from Lone Mountain down in Tifton, Georgia. And they gave me a shot because I was just a young kid, 23 years old. I'm 36 now. Didn't have any credit. Didn't have bad credit, but just didn't have any credit, and they put me in the truck. And at that time, I didn't have enough knowledge or experience to know that I should have been buying not by the truck or the year model, but by the motor. Because that's the most important thing that drives your truck is your motor. So the more you can understand and know motors and which ones are worth buying, when the emission systems came in, and woo, you're going to have a way higher chance of success. Because when it comes to the owner-operator business, really the most important thing outside of your self-discipline and common sense and different things that you learn along the way is choosing the right motor. Because that'll drive your business. So that first truck, it broke even for maybe 2 or 3 years. A lot of emission issues. We'd make the money, but I was at Landstar, so we were doing pretty well. Within about a year at Landstar, I got into the flatbed side of things, and that really increased my earning potential, and I got into the oversized department. And actually, before I did that, I was in the crane. I drove the crane trailer. Now, if you ever see a crane trailer, it's a specialized trailer that it's not very common at all, but there's a small fleet at Landstar, and we did the Hunter alignment machines. So that's when I first started making my really good money. And the money I made from there, I went and eventually got a flatbed, then got into the flatbed side of things, specialized, oversized, up to about 14 feet. So by the time I left Landstar, I had my own authority. I already had my own flatbed trailer. I had that truck paid off for, but I had my second truck, which is this one. It's 2000 Volvo with an N14 Cummins, best motor, best truck I had. Because my tenure of trucking, I owned 2 trucks. Because you only need one. You only need the right one. So what the right truck is going to be a little bit different for each person or whatever. But what we decided on once we cracked the code was that I knew I wanted a Detroit 60, a Cat 6 NZ, or a Cummins N14. Now every year that goes by, it's going to get a little bit more difficult to find one of these motors in good shape or a truck and chassis that's in good shape. But they're out here. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, you just got to look and be patient. And these will be the trucks. That truck that I got right there, that I ran for 7 years, I only paid $10,000 for that truck. So people will try to tell you all the time, old truck, beat up truck, get that beat up truck off the road. If you can get one of these older trucks in decent shape and you bring it to life, I promise you it'll be way more fresh, way more clean, way more fire than everybody else's truck out here anyways. Or you don't even have to spruce it up. But you'll be making enough consistent good money with it that if you want to put a paint job on it, you can put a paint job on it. You can put chrome on it, make it look good, put decals, XYZ. But it'll be a dependable truck because our pre-emission trucks before 2003 pretty simple trucks. You know, the motors, like you can see your alternator, you can see your starter, you can see your turbocharger can be swapped out with hand tools. You don't have such a complex diagnostic system, electrical system, emission system, because that's really what's breaking the bank for the owner operators. Now the motors after 2018 or so, they've got a little bit better, but you're still dealing with very expensive SCR after treatment systems, the DEF SCR after treatment systems, so much unnecessary stuff that you're going to have to maintain. So what changed? Because I left the business. 2023, November of 23, I left the business. So why, you might ask, like, Drew, why did you leave the trucking business? You're doing so well, you're making videos, you have the video on your page, $25,000 a month, and you did it. So hypothetically, if you did that, you could just work for 4 months and make $100K clean after diesel. That's good money, right? For a blue collar man that's got a truck and out here with a dream and making it happen. And it was, and it is. But you got to know my whole story to understand why I left. It was a calculated leave. And also, I'm getting back into the business. Not as an owner operator this time, not right away, but as a local driver. I got somebody locally here in the Middle Georgia region that's willing to pay me close to $1,400 a week. And I've ran the hamster wheel long enough doing other things. Because I transitioned out of this business to go into day trading in the stock market. I was already teaching myself the skill. I bought into the classes. Good mentors. I'm sitting there in the Zoom calls with these guys. And when I came back to Middle Georgia in 2021, it was because my mom got bad sick. Okay, she got bad sick into a coma, and she stayed in that coma for 90 days. And in the course of me being back, I knew that I had to move back to Georgia. I had a homestead in Louisiana. I lived out there. I loved it. But when I left here as a young man at 21 years old, I never intended to be gone for this long. I just wanted to save up enough money to buy a MacBook so I could make better music. That's all it was. But once those $700, $800, $900 checks started coming in, I wanted to stay in the business. Then at the time, my girlfriend and I, we got along really good, and we stayed together for the next 11 years. So her and I made a commitment together at that young age that we're just going to stay on the road until we have enough money to buy a house, cash. And we did. And that's how we ended up in Louisiana. She had family close by. I had family in Shreveport. And we loved it. But when I got that call to come out here for my mom, I dropped everything and I came out here. And when I came out here, I had close to $85,000 in the bank that took 10 years to make. Now, mind you, I'm running Higgins Diesel Trucking. We got overhead of about $1,200 a month for liability and commercial insurance. A couple overheads, other overheads were, I believe at that time, my overhead was about $3,000 a month or so. So, you know, that's going on. I'm not trucking as much, but what I am doing is going to the hospital every day, hanging with my mom in her coma state. My granddad came down from Virginia, and her husband was there too. So between the three of us, she was never left alone. And against all odds, she survived 90 days later. She's no longer here with us now, but she did get to live another 3 years after she woke up. Against all odds. Now, mind you, when I came out here from Louisiana, they said she only had 48 hours to live. And that's a whole other thing about the power of the agreement. Because once you agree to something like that, chances are it's going to happen. If the doctor tells somebody they got 6 months to live and they agree, they probably will, not make it. That's how powerful our mind is. And we have all these, trillion cells inside of our body that once they get that command from the command center, they're going to go that way. Okay? So that's why mentality is so important too. And we got that in the literature. So what changes that? So I come back, and how I'm spending some of my spare time is I'm volunteering in the nonprofit arena. So it didn't take long. I already had these cameras and these lenses and stuff, and I've always been a creative person, whether it be music, painting, design, visionary type stuff or whatever. And I've always cared. I've always had enough heart on me to understand people and not just point my fingers from a glass tower and be like, just judging without understanding the real conditions that people are up against. So I fit right into the nonprofit organization. It didn't take long before I was shoulder to shoulder with the mayor here in Middle Georgia. Cause we have two mayors. Well, we have three mayors. Well, actually, we have a couple more mayors. Cause Middle Georgia is broken into like 5 sections. And I just started really, like when the birds fly south and north, I started getting that same thing inside of me where I'm like, man, I got to move back because Atlanta and Middle Georgia is becoming one thing fast. And I was gone, and I got to go to San Francisco, LA, Dallas, Houston, Baltimore, Miami, Chicago, Indianapolis. I got to go to all these places like you know how we do out here. So you get to observe, and like the final 2 or 3 years I was trucking since things slowed down, and that's what we're about to talk to too. I'm gonna try to keep this video less than 15 minutes, but this is the Andrews Method comeback video right here to get you guys into the journey of what we got going on, because the journey has never stopped. Okay, but I stopped making the trucking content because the day I got wrecked into, I knew I was getting out of business to be a full-time day trader, and I was like, you know what? I deleted my Instagram account that had about 10,000 followers on it. You know, a ton of people watching my stories where I was putting like positivity and different things, showing where I was and stuff. I deleted that because I'm like, you know what? I'm not fixing to be a trucker no more. I don't have trucking content. And I grew so much as a man that I didn't want that stuff on the internet no more, like different versions of me that were outdated. Because I had to go through a lot and learn a lot. Because eventually that big old number that I had, $80,000, got all the way down to a point where there was almost nothing, like less than $100 at one time. So that forced me to really regrow myself as a man, regrow my body, regrow my mind, regrow my stability in a crazy environment here in Middle Georgia where people have not really experienced peace and positivity and love and stability in a while. So there's still a lot of anger, hate, envy, all sorts of stuff. And you add that with the economic conditions, inflation, woo-woo, you're about to see like why I did a lot of things that I did. It was all calculated why I left the business, why I sold my equipment and everything. Okay, so let's just cover that right quick. So we got that going on, and I know that I want to come back and I want to be a part of the nonprofit organization. I want to be a part of, take what I learned out in the world and bring it back here to help improve social stability and programs, collect money to build this bridge and help this 100-mile stretch of land expand. Because we know a lot of the major metropolises, Dallas, Fort Worth, 100 miles, LA, 100 miles across, Miami, 100 miles across, New York to Philly, 100 miles across, Chicago's 100 miles across. And from exit 146, Warner Robins to 246, Midtown Atlanta's 100 miles. We're one huge conglomerate, and we both need each other. Atlanta's the face, we're the heart, and we're the soul. So we want to bring it together. So that's the big push that's bringing me here at the time. Not to mention that I'm a musician. I play the drum machine. I go to Atlanta. I do music. I'm a recording artist. And all these things are like clicking and moving to different avenues and different people that I've known from being a kid are in different places all around here. And the spider web is webbing. So we're not going to stay too much on that part of it. But what I want to mention was part of the reason why we got out of the business here is because after COVID, we had a slight boom, maybe 6 months or so where rates did really well and stuff. Then the bottom just fell out. I mean, places like Chicago, 600 loads on the load board, now down to like 80. But you still have the same amount of owner-operators, hungry hippo trying to get the loads out. The week before I shut down my trucking business, I was in Houston, Texas for literally 5 days. Every morning I wake up and 5, 6 a.m., get myself ready so I could be there for 7 a.m. when the loads start coming in on the load board, and it was just tumbleweed. I mean, this is Houston, Texas with a flatbed. And I sat there for 5 days. There was not anything worth hauling. I sit there on the load board, look. Now, mind you, even if a load doesn't come till 1 or 2 p.m., I've already been up 6 or 7 hours. Now I accept the load, and I'm responsible for driving that load 500 miles to get there the next day. Like the conditions were terrible. And I know things come in stages and in intervals and waves that go up and down and all that stuff. But man, I had Middle Georgia waiting on me. I had Atlanta waiting on me. There's too many rich people out here doing things, real estate, stock trading. Like people out here has figured it out. Not quite in Middle Georgia yet, but that's what I was called to do is help bridge that gap. And at the same time, I'm already trading options. I'm getting like $1,000 days. The best day I had up to that prior was a $4,000 day. Like good enough where I just buy myself a plane ticket and go to San Francisco, and I just go hang out for like 3 days and just walk around by myself and just meet people and meet connections and stuff. Stuff I couldn't really do when I was full-time trucking. But though as an owner operator, I gave myself a lot of free time and free way, especially when things slowed down. The final 2 years that I was in this Volvo with Higgins Diesel Trucking and my own authority, like I gave myself plenty of time to go walk around every downtown across the country because things were kind of slow or whatever. So this is the calculated reason why we was getting out of the business. Is like boom, we're already getting good traction with options and futures trading, so I can make a similar type of income, and eventually way more, because once you master the skill, it's just numbers. You know, the money part of it is crazy how it doesn't even equate to the real work that you do. So we had that already going, paying the education, learning the classes, already doing good, and load volumes went down like crazy. So which means the rates went down. So we were seeing like $2. Like folks were wanting me to go to like Wyoming for $1.80 a mile. 44,000 pounds and stuff like that. So that's why I sat in Houston all that time. Then at the same time, we were dealing with inflation on the cost of the parts of the truck. So like a normal brake drum or something that I had that was like $80, now it's like $150 or $180. So now you really had to cherry pick your loads and move slow. And I already had a paid off truck, a paid off trailer, paid off land, paid off house and all that. My trailer house out there on 3 acres of land in Louisiana had 2 trailer houses on the land. All that's paid for, and I was still feeling the pressure. Now, mind you, in hindsight, I had to do a lot of odd jobs, and I'm using my creativity, photography. Ended up being an Uber driver for like 2 years, and it was terrible. Like when I would some days I'd just be like, man, I'm working all day and I can barely make $100. And so then, in hindsight, I was looking at it. So we went from making about $5,000 or $7,000 a week to about $2,000. But I was already spoiled. I had already bit the apple, and I was like, man, this $2,000 ain't nothing. Which really it wasn't, when you consider you still got to maintain your rig, and things were getting more expensive. And it had been like that for almost 3 years. So I know things come in waves and cycles. But I had too much other good stuff going on that I wasn't fixing to wait for the next wave or cycle, because I had a good foresight into the economic conditions and what was going on post-COVID and stuff. Now, mind you, there's different ways to cut the cake, where you could have, like me, I didn't want to have direct customers because I like to move around too much. I like to move off the load board. But like I know a guy here in Middle Georgia right now who's got a few direct customers. He works with a couple of the farms out here, and he does fine. And he's making more on his hot shot trailer than a lot of guys are in his semi truck right now. He just has to go to Atlanta and back, and that's it, and he's done. So when you have your own authority, those options are always there if you're savvy enough to make those connections and see where they are. But me, I wasn't trying to do all that at the time. I was like, man, I want out of this business. My mentor in trading's making $5,000 a day trading futures. So that's what changed. That's why we left. It was all those conditions at once. And my mom brought me back, and from being back, I knew I had to come back. I had unfinished business to do out here. I wanted to build my own nonprofit organization to help improve social stability in the region. Not just give away book bags and turkeys and say, here you go, have a nice life, we'll see you next time. No, we want to get to the root issues of what's going on. Socially, economically, the hierarchy of needs, so we can just have fun again. So we can just live our normal life and create, grow, dream, do those type of cool things that I know that I got to experience in my nuclear family growing up out here as a kid. So my intention was, okay, let's get into the trading business. And once we get to about good 30, 40, 50 G's, now mind you that $80,000 ran all the way down to about 20,000 when I went full-time into trading, because I wasn't taking trucking serious for a couple years. I was just moving around, just covering my insurance because I wanted to be here. There's too much going on. And so it was obvious to me where it's like, boom, once we get back in that 30, 40, 50K range, the type of deals we can make in trading that can exponentially turn into 250,000, 300,000, XYZ. So when I get the nonprofit going, I can fund myself originally and not have to be in such a state of need to get other people to fund it. But I went so far down that rabbit hole in the trading because of family situations, decline, my mom dying, different things. It was like 5 things happened back to back where my little plan got shook up big time. So when I mentioned getting wrecked into, now some of our next videos are not going to be like, so like, but I got to catch everybody up, okay? You know, the journey's still going. After that week of sitting in Houston, I get a phone call from somebody who wanted to buy my land out in Louisiana, because at that point, it was done. I wasn't coming back. Everybody that was on the land had already got off the land, and everybody, you know, found their way. And so I went to go sell the place. And I'm backing my trailer up onto the dead end road like I always do when it rains a lot, because if it rains too much, it'll get muddy. And let me make sure this is still recording. Okay. It'll get real muddy and my truck will get stuck, right? So I've got my truck stuck plenty of times, well, about 4 times in the yard where I had to get towed out before. So I'm backing the trailer up down the dead end road. It's about 9 p.m. at night. It's dark, but I have my LED lights on, all my flashers, and I'm backing my trailer up. Nobody's on the road. It's on Highway 80 out in Monroe, Louisiana. I've done this maneuver 100 times before. And as I'm putting the wheels into the hole, spread axle 48 flatbed, I see a car coming off in the distance. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm already halfway. I'm already jackknifing the road. I'm not fixing to stop what I'm doing now. I know this person can see me. I have all my lights on. So I'm finishing the maneuver. Then she passes that line of no return. Then from there I can see everything like frame by frame. It's like tick, tick, tick. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's really not gonna stop. Boom! And by the grace of the Most High, for her and I both, she ran into the rubber of my trailer tire, hit it, boom, instantly went off into the bank. Now mind you, never been in an accident over a million miles. Because if she would have been, or if we would have been a couple seconds apart, she wouldn't hit the tire. She would have went straight into the flatbed of my trailer and took the top off her car and instantly lost it all. And she had her baby in the back seat, only 3 years old with no seatbelt on. So when they pulled the records, she never hit the brakes and she was on her cell phone. She never looked up. She never took a real moment to decipher what was going on in front of her. Mind you, she had a minute and 15 seconds, I'd say about a good 45 seconds of approaching me to make some type of decision that she never did. So boom, totaled my trailer out. So luckily she lived, very little minor injury, but I know my trailer was totaled, and I at that time I had about $21,000 in the bank, and I was like, man, I'm not fixing to spend $6,000 to fix this trailer in this slow economy, because I didn't carry physical damage on that trailer because it was an old trailer that I had for 7 years, and so I was way far in the green by not paying physical damage. Because physical damage would never pay me, you know, more than what I would pay in on that trailer. So I'm like, you know what, forget it. I'll leave this trailer here at my body shop in Monroe, and I'll let them fix it, and we'll just sell it and split the money. So that was the big turning point. And just the day before, I had already wrote down my schedule of what I wanted my day to be like as a day trader. So I go back to Georgia because that guy ended up not wanting to buy the house. I go to Georgia and I'm kicking around out here and I'm staying with my mom. And my mom was like, you know what? Come down here to Perry, Georgia and live in my house and get your new trading business off the ground so you don't have to pay rent. So perfect. So at this time I'm not trading full cash yet. I'm still doing simulation trading. I set up my big rig. It's like 7 different screens. You know, I'm educated. I've been educating for some months and some time already in the options market, but I made the mistake by going to the futures market, and I traded the most difficult thing it was to trade, which was the NASDAQ. And NASDAQ moves so fast, and you could be so right and so wrong at the same time, but at the end of the day, you're right, but you got chopped up so many times that, you know, you took 6 losses, but you were actually right. It's a very stressful instrument to trade. There's way better things to trade. Stock options are way better to trade, in my opinion. Foreign exchange. You can have a robot trade foreign exchange for you. All sorts of things. But in the futures market, you could trade more better things like gold, platinum, silver, but not the NASDAQ. Not for me. So, boom. So then I get the phone call where I do have an interested party to come out there to Louisiana and buy the land. So I go sell the land, and literally I drive back to Georgia. I put that land on a payment plan, get $15,000 down, which helped kept things going. Then $800 a month to keep going for 4 years, which that comes to a finish this November. That literally within like 20 days of being back, my mom, she dies. Now mind you, she got to live another 3 years after the intense coma battle. The coma battle. But she dies, bro. And it was just like some weird thing where her insurance company proved that like she missed the payments for like a week and a half or 2 weeks, and the insurance just decided not to pay. So we lost the house, we lost her, and no insurance payment paid out at all. And so now I just literally sold my place. Mom died, nowhere to live. So I'm like, sheesh, bruh. So I go get a $400 office in Macon, Georgia, and I'm living out the office, trading. So now I went from having a smooth approach into trading to, man, you better hurry up and start getting this thing going within a couple months, because responsibilities is catching up. And that's not the what conditions you want to be in as a full-time trader, is to trying to force money out of the market. And then I was used to making $1,000 a day with the trucking, you know. So I was looking to make those numbers right away and right fast. So I didn't even establish my nonprofit. I didn't even do none of that. All I was focused on was trading. And it was just taking such a toll on me. You know, you study all night, because the futures market's 23 hours a day. So I'm watching Tokyo, I'm watching London, I'm getting in for New York session. I'm doing my best to pick the right rhyme and reason of what I want to trade and how I want to trade it. And it's just like every day I'm getting lower and lower and lower and lower and lower with my mind, my finance, my spirit, my confidence, my money. And yeah. And I still had my same dog, Parrish. And at the time she was about 11 years old, and she ended up having babies. So she was already living in my office, really not allowed to be there. And I'm living in the office, and I'm not even supposed to be there 24 hours a day. Now I got puppies in my office, you know what I mean? So I'm like, shoot, now I got to really move. So I found a house in Pleasant Hill in Macon. So I lived at the top of the hill for about 6 months to raise the puppies. And it was just terrible. Like at that point, I went all the way down. And now I'm regretting everything, you know, and stuff like that, you know, like, dang, my land, my house, my wife, my business. It was like, but it was all necessary for me to be the man, you know, where I am today. Because at one time, you'll see back in these other videos that I was just happy-go-lucky guy. I was rich and positive, which almost made me rich and ignorant. Because I was so happy, positive, and spiritual that there were certain things I skipped that I was forced to go back and revisit. Because there's no way that the Most High God was going to let me cross over into 200,000, 300,000, 500,000, million, multiple millions, and I didn't have my nervous system regulated. I didn't have my body together. I didn't have a calm alpha state for real. So at the peak of that, I got an opportunity to oversee one of the family homes rent-free. And that was the saving grace to allow me to rebuild again for the past about year and a half. So I continued to do the Uber, had over 2,000 people come in my car, had plenty of conversations. Like, I know the Middle Georgia land like the back of my hand, every neighborhood, every apartment, every section. So officially April 1st, we started our nonprofit organization, Middle Georgia Common Unity, with the main goal to improve social stability in the region. We have plenty of initiatives, plenty of things to do around here. And we're not fully up and running yet until the federal paperwork comes back. So I'm actually excited about getting back into a truck. So mid-May, like I said, I found a place here, a bulk transporter here in Perry, Georgia, paying about $1,400 a week. And you could be an owner-operator for them. So we're going to truck around with them for about a month or 2 or 3. And I'm going to see if I don't pick up like a little day cab with a Detroit 60 or N14 in it. And I'll park it there at their terminal and just maybe drive it 3 or 4 days out of the week. We'll see. But I'm excited now, because at first my ego and my pride wouldn't let me drive a truck again, because I did not want to get back into that. I wanted to be fully immersed into trading, which I did for 1 year. I lasted 1 year in the futures market. And I learned a lot. I learned a ton. Learned enough to know that I still want to go back into it differently with what I learned. So that's where we are right now. Welcome back to Andrews_Method. I'm Andrew Higgins. Million mile owner operator, driver, former owner operator, and now I'm coming back into the game